10 mistakes even senior React developers make, and how to fix them. Don't get me wrong, fetching in useEffect is okay, but not like this. This code went horribly wrong. There are at least 4 mistakes. Pause the video and try to spot them all. Ready? First of all, no dependency array. That way we will DDoS our backend, because we will fetch data on every render, so probably a lot. All you have to do is to add empty dependency array. That way we will fetch data only once on the component mount. If you are fetching something by ID, for example user, product, blog post or anything, probably this is a good idea to add this ID to dependency array. This means that we will not only fetch data on load, but also on every ID change. The same rule for dependency array also applies to useMemo, useCallback or useLayoutEffect. So don't forget to pass them. Next mistake in our snippet is using await inside function that is not async. Seems like easy fix, just add async before function declaration and it will solve the issue, right? Not this time. useEffect is a function that expects its argument to be a function that returns nothing or cleanup function. By adding async to the function declaration, we say that this function returns promise. That's not what useEffect expects, so it throws an error. What you can do to use async function inside useEffect is to create it inside useEffect. You can also use already created async function from outside, but let's stick with creating it inside. Let's name it load and run it right after declaration. Forgetting to handle errors is next crucial mistake that can be easily overlooked. Most of the time our application runs perfectly fine, but then suddenly something went wrong. The minimal effort you should make is to at least show toast or message in any other form, so user know what happened. Can't count how many hours I've wasted waiting for data to load, only to find out that fetch request failed and app developer forgot to handle errors while fetching data. Frustrating and definitively bad UX. There are 2 types of fetch errors: connection errors and application errors. For example, if server is down or domain not exists, then you get connection error. Your app cannot connect with server to fetch data. On the other hand, there are application errors that can happen when server gets your request, but for some reason it won't return requested data. For example, you do not have permission or you send incomplete request, or any other error that can happen while processing your request. Depending on code on the backend, it will return error messages in different forms, but you will get some response. Handling connection errors requires you to wrap fetch function with try-catch block. If you are using promise chaining, .then, .catch, .finally, you have to run catch function, and then handle errors inside. On the other hand, application errors do not throw errors. You have to handle them with if statements. And the last mistake of our snippet is not using cleanup function. What if our component unmounts before finishing fetch? Then we have memory leaks and invalid state updates. To prevent that from happening, we have to use abort controller. That way, on component unmount, our fetch will be aborted and no side errors occur. There are other use cases when cleanup function is required. Remember to clean up when using fetches, WebSockets, timeouts, intervals, event listeners, and observers. A little tip for fetching inside useEffect. To do it properly, it requires a lot of boilerplate code. There are different libraries that can handle that for us. For example, Tanstack Query or SWR from Vercel. They will save you a lot of work. Let's say you want to conditionally render something only when a list has any items. You might write this, but there's a problem. When there is no items, we get 0. Literally number 0. Unlike any other falsy values like boolean false, empty string, null, undefined, etc., the number 0 is a valid JSX value. To fix that problem with rendering 0, we have to use pure boolean value. So we need to create condition that will check the length of array or use double exclamation mark to convert value to boolean. Alternatively, we can use ternary expression. All are valid, but it's like tabs and spaces. You have to choose your team. state in React needs to be immutable, but beginners often write something like this. First create state, then push new item to items array and pass these items to setState. This won't work. React won't detect any changes. Why? Because React relies on variable identity, and operations like pushing do not create new array, so reference stays the same. What you have to do instead is to always create a new copy of array or object. 3 dots named spread operator are very helpful to do that. This way we create completely new instance of object or array and React will react. When rendering an array of elements, always pass a stable unique key to each item. React uses keys to match elements between renders. Without them you will get warnings and incorrect updates. Prefer a real ID from your data. If your items don't have IDs, generate an ID once when the data arrives or when the items are created. Don't generate keys during render. Avoid using the array index as a key unless the list is truly static and will never be reordered, inserted into, or filtered. A React component must return a single value. That can be element, a fragment, or an array of elements. You can't place 2 sibling JSX tags next to each other without a wrapper. Wrap siblings in a parent element, for example div. Use a fragment, or return an array of elements. Prefer fragments when you don't want extra elements in your DOM. The shorthand is convenient, but it can't accept attributes. So if you need to add a key or other props, use the full form. Classic React trap. Thinking that setState will instantly update variable value. Using setState is not like assignment. setState is asynchronous, so we are only scheduling an update. If you need to act based on the new value, use a useEffect. Or create a variable like nextCount and then use it in setState. Compiler sometimes collapses the whitespace, especially when elements are split across lines. To force a whitespace, you can write it like this. Now, compiler is sure this whitespace is intended and not only used for code formatting purposes. Even senior React developers make these mistakes from time to time, but they instantly know what happened and how to fix it. Now you know it too. If this video helped you, give it a like and subscribe for more frontend tips. See you in the next one. Happy coding!